You're watching America Trends. I am Mary Burt-Godwin, and there is a word that is popping around everywhere in the news, and it's scaring me, to be honest with you. And so I have somebody here to talk about it. It is the word ransomware. It's been around for a long time, but particularly lately, it's been exponentially getting worse, I believe. So we have Brad Rambur. He's a cybersecurity expert. His official title is Principal and Leader of the Digital Transformation Practice at Northwest Harbor. How'd I do?
You did a great job.
Brad is here. Welcome, Brad.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy that you are joining us today because it keeps coming in my feed. I keep listening to podcasts and watching news stories about ransomware. And I at first thought, I don't even know if I know what this is, and also, should I be as scared as I am? So that's what you're here to talk about today. Okay, great. So first, tell us a little bit about you and your job at Northwest Harbor.
Sure. So I studied, funnily enough, finance in school, so counting the beans, but got a computer job. I was more interested in computers, and I got it at a government contractor working on military systems.
Okay.
And so I got taught, and I didn't realize I'd just fallen down the slippery slope of cybersecurity back in 1993, of all things.
It was a perfect time to get in, right?
It was. And you know what's more interesting about that is security has been thought of as a nuisance a lot until, let's say, the last 5 to 7 years. But I've been doing it for nearly 30.
A nuisance, who's thinking it's a nuisance business? I mean, people are like, oh, I got to get a new password and that kind of thing.
Seatbelt. Remember when we had to start wearing our seatbelts? Yeah. You had to get in the habit of putting a seatbelt on.
Yeah.
That was a big deal. Obviously, they keep you a lot safer. Trauma surgeons, the first question they ask when somebody comes into the ER after a car accident is, did the airbags go off and did they have their seatbelts on? So it's very similar to that in that way. So security has gotten a lot more important the more computers we use. You know, it's often someone has 3 of them on them. They have an Apple Watch, they have an iPad, they have their computer, then they have their children's devices, they have their work machine. Sometimes
and they
their
have a
car
lot of
connects
times
to this.
their password is the same for every single login on all the places, and kids are leaving it open, and then they're sharing it with their friends, probably posting it on TikTok. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, you don't ever want the note from Facebook that says, we noticed that your account logged in Latvia.
Right.
We think that's not you.
Right. And
we've locked your account.
And P.S., that's not good. So, yeah.
So a bit of a math nerd thing. If you take an 8-character password and you throw some computer at it, let's call it $10,000 worth of computing hardware you can buy. You know how long it takes to crack a big pile of passwords?
How long?
About 9.5 days.
That's it?
That's it.
Wow.
So if you get a hold of password files and you let them run away in a computer, people can brute force their way into knowing what the passwords are.
And so...
Do you want to know how long it takes to crack a 24-character password?
How long?
Over 100,000 years.
Oh, okay, 24. But 24 characters? You mean it can't just be Mary... America Trends?
It can. Well, it can be Mary had a little lamb, the fleece is white as snow. You can make a whole sentence out of it. That's great. The longer it is, the greater the complexity, because for each slot in the length of the password, you got 128 or so options.
Okay.
So you just do the math of that.
So take us now to ransomware. You establish your nerdy cybersecurity guy. Okay.
The propeller on my hat is turning.
Okay,
yes, ma'am.
it is.
I got it.
You got your pocket.
So let's talk about what ransomware is.
Yeah.
So ransomware is the bad person sneaks into your computer or your computer network. Typically they do that by coming in through a network connection, and also they'll come in using like a login account. Okay, so the combination of they don't have to be physically at your computer and they can get in by logging in some way means that they can put malware, you know, bad software is really what malware means, on a system, and they can begin to encrypt your data. Okay.
And data meaning passwords, which then would get you into your Wells Fargo or whatever your bank is.
Yep. You are tracking it all. So the scenario goes as this. The bad person wants to embarrass you or wants you to pay or wants something. They sneak into your computer in a myriad of ways, and then they encrypt all your data. It used to be they just delete it. Now what they do is they encrypt it so you can't get to it. They take the encryption key and say, I'll sell it to you for $50,000 in Bitcoin. It happened to the city of Atlanta. Obviously, it happened on the East Coast with a refinery.
Right.
Really, really interesting.
It happened here in San Diego with a hospital group. I mean, it affected us right here. So that's one of the things that went ding, ding, ding. Okay, now it's actually affecting me personally. So I need to really pay attention.
Well, and think about that. If they could encrypt it, they could probably see it. So the thing is your data may be encrypted, but if they can get into your network and then encrypt it over the top of that, you still might not be able to get to it. So your data could be safe with the key that you have, but they can re-encrypt it with their key. So there are 2 keys on it, and you still can't get to it.
You can't get to it.
And yeah.
So you mentioned a bad person. Now, can we talk about who these people are that are doing this? Is it just one person that's doing the whole Colonial Pipeline, or is it a group of people?
Typically, it's groups of people. So these are targeted attacks. And what I'll say, and I'm going to be intentionally nebulous here, is there are entire nation states that do this. Or there are entire nation states, whole countries with flags and Olympic teams and whatnot, that permit criminal enterprise to operate in their borders as long as the enterprise isn't pointed at anybody inside of the border.
Okay.
Making sense?
Yeah.
Large 9-time zone nation.
Yes.
Kind of known for this.
Right. Okay.
So, so this is where it gets really interesting. You get a bunch of people who are really, really, really smart, and they're looking to do something bad. So computer really only can do 5 things. It can read information, it can write it, it can change it, it can erase it, and it can take those 4 things and make flashing lights on your screen that a human could interpret or print paper, right?
Yeah.
That's it. So the baddie wants to get into your computer because that's where you house your data and wants to see, is that data of any use to me? Remember when the Office of Personnel Management hack happened?
Yes.
And the Chinese were accused by the FBI of exfiltrating OPM information. Why would the Chinese government want to know about a bunch of government workers?
Why wouldn't they?
Well,
Why would they?
Fair.
Yeah.
So who has a top secret clearance? What kind of research was done into you getting your top secret clearance?
Okay.
Are you compromisable? What programs are you working on? What technology do you have access to that we don't, that we would like to steal?
Right.
Can we turn you? Can we take your data, your money, or threaten your family?
I feel like I'm in a movie scene, but it's not a movie. This is
is all
happening.
Completely real life. I met with the board of directors of a $5 billion technology firm about 3 years ago, and the story I got was this. This gentleman said that the entire code base for a large database firm was stolen, and in this fashion. A foreign nation state found a series of either former or current citizens of that nation state working for this company and said, you will get me the code base or I will harm your family back home. Now, smart companies take these crown jewels, the data that's most valuable, like the software that you build and sell to others, and put them in chunks and hide them in different places. Well, that was how it worked at this company. What was interesting about that is then they found 11 more people of the same cross-section, made the same threat, and still got the code.
Wow.
Yeah, and if somebody who's on the board of directors of a public company has this story to tell, it's something to pay attention to. Now, what's interesting about that is, the pipeline, pretty big. Office of Personnel Management, really big. Healthcare organization in San Diego, pretty big.
And the meatpacking plant.
Yes, right.
That was a huge impact to our whole nation. That's, I think, one of the reasons why it's in the news so much, because now people, they're not getting their food.
Yeah.
This is a big deal.
Yeah, food's one thing. We learned earlier in this exercise, I think in the 90s, I did some study on this, is that, then this is before we had the Internet of Things, right? So you have, smart home and garage doors go up and down from your phone and that sort of bit. Someone had gotten into the computing system at a wastewater treatment plant. If you get into that and you can turn the wrong valve on, you can now pollute the water supply for a metropolitan area full of millions of people.
Dang.
Oh, there was a cholera epidemic in Chicago because they weren't handling wastewater the right way. Got a lot of the town sick. That was in the 19th century.
Right.
But the same sort of thing can happen. So public utilities, municipalities, air traffic control systems, trains, traffic lights, all that stuff is run by computers.
Right.
You got to make sure this stuff is protected. Now, the thing is if you're a small business person, you still need to be paying attention. I know of a small business locally. It's a mom and pop shop, in a strip mall that had to pay $50,000 to get their own data back so they can continue to run. So it might not be that you know a lot of stuff. It might be who you know. Remember the Target hack a while ago was
Target the retailer.
Yep.
Okay.
Target the retailer. The bad folks got in by exploiting an account that an HVAC, a heating, ventilation, and air conditioning contractor had, into Target, and then they got into the payment systems.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is bigger because I also heard it attacks schools and K through 12 schools. So I want you to stick around. Will you stick around for another break and talk this through? Maybe talk me off the ledge a little bit. But I also want to get some actually concrete tips for business owners and people, individuals, how they're going to keep their own password safe and what they can do for their own protection.
You bet.
So people don't, lose sleep tonight, but, walk away with concrete information. So Brad, you're amazing. And all of you out there, stick around. Find us on America Trends TV on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Send us your questions, any ideas on any topics you want us to cover. We are open to hearing that, and we will be right back after this break with Brad Rambur. Watching America Trends. I'm Mary Burt-Godwin, and I am here with Brad Rambur, cybersecurity expert and also musician. This is his music playing, correct?
It is.
This groovy music.
It is.
Tell us a little bit about your music side before we get back into cybersecurity.
Fair. Well, cybersecurity is really a branch of computer sciences. I think I picked up a musical instrument and started playing with computers right around the same time.
Okay. What do you play?
Well, I am a guitarist and a saxophonist. You hear me playing saxophone here right now.
Okay.
But on the one that you heard on the lead-in in the prior segment, I was playing the guitar and the saxophone.
Okay.
So I've just always enjoyed them. So what's funny is I think the origins of color vision were for humans looking for patterns, right berries is what evolutionary biologists say. So music is patterns. The computer sciences and data are patterns. So they're very synergistic in the most interesting of ways. If you learn one, it's pretty easy to learn another.
Music patterns.
Music patterns they're numeric. It's physics, right?
Okay.
So is electric and circuit theory. So
this is why I can't learn to read music.
No.
I wanted to be a musician or a singer, but that I can't really sing. So
I
can
friend,
fake it. Karaoke. I can do a mean karaoke.
You know what? And that's as long as you're having fun. Rob Machado, the surfer, said it best, and it's really about anything you take on. Someone asked him when he was, I think, ASP world champion. They said, "So who's the best surfer in the water?" He's like, "The guy having the most fun."
I like that.
Yeah, I live by
it. That's me, because I have a lot of fun in life. So hey, I'm winning.
A wise man told me, if it's worth doing, it's worth enjoying.
Hey, I know. I like it. Yep. All right, so let's go back to cybersecurity, ransomware. Tell me what businesses can do to, if your business owners at home are watching and they're thinking, okay, maybe I don't have my passwords quite right, or, what are things they should be looking for and maybe what they can do to implement?
Sure. I'm going to try to keep it to one hand. So,
okay, yes.
I'm going to say at the same time on the same finger, passwords. You want longer passwords, not 8 characters. 16 to 24 is good. You want them to be unique. You don't want your bank account password to be the same as your Netflix password, the same as that for your deed trust account for your family, for in case anybody gets sick, that sort of thing. So you want to use a good tool.
I know of LastPass. I'm sure there's many, but I've used LastPass before.
Yep.
Previous agency, we handled Instagram social media accounts for about 100 clients, 6 or 7 each, and they would get annoyed at me because they'd say, "What's the password?" And I was like, "Get a pen," because it's S ampersand uppercase, lowercase, and they would get very frustrated. But I'm like, I'm protecting you from somebody coming in and hacking your account.
I have a colleague who's now the chief security officer of Twitter, and she's the chief security officer of Twitter because a 17-year-old compromised, I think, Obama's account.
Yeah.
And several others, very high-profile things through what's called social engineering. So, hi, I need some help. I'm having a hard time resetting my password. Can you route me to somebody who can help me out there? On the other side, of course, they want you to be able to use what they've sold you, so they help you with that. Whether you're the right person or not is another matter. So
LastPass, it manages it all. It holds it all, and then you can access it from your phone or wherever.
Yep, securely, and that's the important part. So there are all sorts of ways for you to carefully protect your data. So the next thing I was going to say, make sure you don't repeat passwords. They're long. You're probably going to need a tool to do that. I don't know any human who doesn't have enough accounts. How many accounts do you think you have logins for, Mary?
Oh, ridiculous amount.
Couple
100
dozen?
plus.
Sure. Okay.
I mean, a
So
lot.
You're probably pretty an extreme case. I'm thinking I have 40.
Okay.
Right. But by the time you make sure that you got your kids doing the same thing, your
Right.
significant other, the number grows big. So having a password manager and a password vault, those are what those are often called, work. I see 1Password. It's a Canadian firm. Here's another thing to take into account when you're looking at tools to help you. Certain tools are built in places that don't like the United States. You want to know where those are, and you want to know that you're using software from a reputable country that is friendly to the United States.
Okay.
Okay.
Great tip.
So yeah, so passwords, you want to make them long, you want to make them unique. You're probably going to need a tool, and you're probably going to do one other thing, which is, this is the second finger, a thing called multi-factor authentication.
That kills me though.
No,
We need it, right?
Okay, so
It's really annoying.
Nobody likes getting a shot. Everybody likes being immunized, right?
Yeah.
For all the reasons that, in the COVID verse. But
Not everyone.
well,
Lots of people.
yeah, okay.
That's a whole other segment, Brad.
Let me go ahead and retract that part of the statement. So the multi-factor authentication, we did some studies with a security scientist I worked with. When you put multi-factor authentication in combination with the username and password, you know what your likelihood of account compromise does? Its risk is reduced 43x.
Oh, wow.
So an order of magnitude and another half, basically.
So just to explain what that is, it's, you want to go log in, you put your password in, and then they have to send a code somewhere else, right? So they send it to your email or send it to your phone. It's this 2-level authentication.
Yes, it used to be called 2FA, second factor authentication.
Okay.
You know what SIM jacking is? Ever heard
No.
of that? Okay, so SIM jacking is when somebody socially engineers or hacks your mobile provider account and says, hey, my SIM card's dead, can you please send me another one? And then that gets sent to the bad guy. Then they put it in, and now your multi-factor authentication goes to the other phone. I know people who have had this happen.
Okay.
It's extremely rare and extremely difficult to do. And I'm not trying to talk you out of using second factor or multi-factor authentication. If you have a tool that generates that code for you, that's an app on your phone, that can be a little more secure than it just being texted to you.
Okay, actually LastPass has that, and there's other ones that are just, they generate it automatically and it comes on your phone.
Yep.
Okay, that's a great one.
Use it everywhere you can. Get used to it. This is
Okay.
back to cars and seatbelts and airbags and anti-lock brakes. We added all that stuff, made the car safer, only if you use it safely.
Safely, yes. Okay, we've got about 60 seconds. So what are the other?
So it's you got your passwords, you got your password manager and second factor authentication. You want to make sure all your data is encrypted. Okay, that's a big deal. Make sure that it is locked away so other people can't see. There are great tools for that out in the world. And then the last thing that's really important is you want to make sure that you can recover it. So test getting your data after it's encrypted. Make sure that that's all good. So if you have your passwords are secure, your networks are secure, we didn't talk about that in great detail, and then your data is secure in transit and at rest, those are the computer nerd terms for that.
Okay.
Then you should be in pretty good shape. And then if somebody tries to ransom your data, you might be able to go back to a backup and go, well, it's only been 3 hours. How much data did I really lose? Thank you, have a nice day. If there's something in there that you encrypted and they can't get to, not as big a deal.
Okay.
But if they can get to the data and it's health information, that's a problem.
Right. Okay. So passwords, everyone out there, go get LastPass or some other sort of software out there that can, or platform that can manage your passwords. Thank you so much for being here, Brad. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great weekend. You can find us here every Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. here at Biz TV, biztv.com/America Trends. Have a great weekend. I'm Mary Burt-Godwin, and we'll see you next week.